Hi everyone, thanks for joining the payment session today. I know it's kind of later in the day, so hopefully this will be exciting.
Yeah. Woo!
Payments, where the money's at, right? So I'm Michelle. I think I see some familiar faces from the last session for counter sales, but for those of you that just joined us, I am a territory rep for most of the Northeast. Feel free to take a seat. Welcome. And this is Jeremy. You may have seen him dressed up in various costumes. He's our VP of Business Development, so I was lucky to score him as my partner. So they say save the questions for the end, but if you guys have a question, feel free to hop in. It's okay. So what's on our agenda today? We're talking payments. So credit card processing in SalesPad desktop. The EMV technology, which is the chip and pin. Credit card processing with SalesPad mobile, we'll kind of touch on that. We won't be demoing it, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Card control to PayFabric, so there's a migration. Is there anyone that's using card control in here right now? Okay. I kind of figured there'd be a few of you. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then just something to note that we won't really be discussing today, but notice CCA. So for those of you that need to process credit cards in GP only, we do have a product for that. It's called Notice CCA. We're not discussing that today. Primarily we're focused on the SalesPad transactions. But just so you know, it is available. It's there. So PayFabric for desktop, what is it? It's a cloud-based payment solution and acceptance engine. So a lot of the questions that we get is, are these credit cards stored in my GP database? Are they stored in SalesPad? It's not. We leverage PayFabric's cloud to get the credit card information. So it helps with PCI compliance and makes things a little bit easier so you don't have to worry about storing those credit cards on your servers and being responsible for that. PayFabric supports most gateways and processors. There is a list on their website, and I can share their website later on. But for the most part, they do support the majority of the bigger gateways and processors. So some features of PayFabric: we can authorize and charge the credit cards. You also have access to a customer wallet and transactions that have gone on for that customer with their PayFabric transactions. We can do batch capturing, cash receipts, and then I just kind of wanted to note that the SalesPad version that is required for PayFabric. So PayFabric EMV, so that's chip and pin. That's going to be card present transactions. And SalesPad now sells these devices. I have two, and we'll pass them around so you can kind of take a look today. So one of the things with the EMV technology, we do require that you would use PayFabric Merchant Services and First Data as your processor. And we'll talk about what Merchant Services is and kind of what to expect with that. So as I mentioned, SalesPad now can provide you with the EMV devices. So we have the PAX S300, which is this one here. That's $350, and then the PAX D210, it's $450. They're pretty similar. They're both touchscreen colored. The biggest difference is going to be that the PAX 210, it's wireless and it has a battery, so it's more portable. Then it also has the receipts built in, so you can keep that paper in there. Makes it a little bit easier. But for other than that, they're quite similar.
Can I ask a question? I forgot.
Oh, sure.
Last session. On the hardware, since you guys are providing the hardware, does that mean also if there's a failure or something like that, we can reach out to you guys, or do we have to go to PAX?
Are we providing services for?
It kind of depends on what the nature of the failure is. I mean, if you want to RMA, like we can handle the RMA if that's what you're asking for the device. But if it's a hardware failure, right, there's not a lot of troubleshooting we can do. We're just going to ship it back to the manufacturer. So you can deal with them directly, or you can deal with us. Either one is fine.
So Notice Merchant Services. With Notice Merchant Services, you can get a true level 3 credit card processing, and that means less fees for you. So I'll let Jeremy talk about kind of what that means and why that would be less fees for you.
Sure. So level 3 credit card processing, for those who aren't aware, is basically sending all of the transactional data to the credit card processor when you send the transaction. So you're sending line information, you're sending taxing, shipping information. There's a number of data points that have to get filled out. And there aren't a lot of processors that really do level 3. There are a lot that say they do, but you'll get dinged as soon as you're missing any given piece of information. So we've really built it out from the ground up with PayFabric to make sure SalesPad is passing everything that's required to get to level 3 processing. And PayFabric has some safeguards that even if you don't have the fields that you need filled out, they'll do defaults in off of what you normally send. So it kind of learns what you normally send and sends it. So you never ever have a transaction that doesn't actually hit level 3 because we're always passing those values in.
But only hitting that if you're getting the ABS correct as well. I mean, if you got the incorrect address. You say you're filling in default information for fields that are missing.
Yes.
But you can only get that if you actually have the fields that are required if they're correct. One of them being the address verification.
For the ones that are validated, yes. But there's a lot of fields in level 3 that are not validated fields. They're just informational. But you still get dinged if you don't have them.
Okay, but if you don't meet all of the tier 3 criteria, you're not going to get that pricing. They don't guarantee you the tier 3 pricing.
No, I mean, if you have a transaction that's going to fail based on, on other information, then yes, no.
Okay.
It just guarantees that we're filling out all the fields that are required to get to level 3.
Will they offer the tier 3 for card not present?
Level 3 for card not present? Yes.
That card not present generally does not qualify for tier 3. Mm. Are they foregoing that?
We should talk afterwards with Chester. I'm fairly certain that card not present can get level 3 through this because that's our scenario 99% of the time.
Exactly.
Is card not present. So I don't think there is a generally lower rate even for tier 3 for card swipes versus card not present, but I'm pretty sure that tier 3 still applies for card not present. Because that is 95% probably of our customers' credit card transactions are.
Exactly. Anything that's B2B is usually okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's basically the idea. Is there's very few. If you're using authorized.net, for example, they don't even do tier 3. They just have tiers 1 and 2. So there's a lot of processors out there, and there's a good chance that even if you think you have level 3 and they say they support level 3, that the data that's getting passed isn't sufficient. And when you go into the detail by card types of what are getting charged, you're probably getting charged more than you think you are.
So payments in SalesPad mobile. So we can do the authorize and charges. We do require that you use the PAX 2 D210 because it is connected through Wi-Fi. So this would be the only option with mobile. One thing to note, if this is something that you're considering, you'd have to have a conversation. There are some other hardware requirements that I won't get into now, but if you're considering that, just talk to your sales rep and they can tell you about those hardware requirements. I also put the supported versions on mobile up here for both the Android and iOS. And again, I'm not going to be doing the demo of the EMV, but we'll talk through it in just a little bit. So migrating from card control to PayFabric, I'm sure that's why quite a few of you are here. So after October 29th, 2019, SalesPad will no longer be supporting card control, and we have built on a migrator. So Jeremy's just going to talk about it, and then right now, and then at the end, we'll kind of talk through the actual process, and then we can ask any additional questions about the migration. We'll kind of save those to the end. Just
a slight wording change. We'll be supporting card control. We won't be selling or after that date valid for new implementations of through the PCI So our PADSS validation will end at the end of that date.
Okay.
So it won't be valid for new implementations anymore. So we'll still support it in that if there are bugs, we'll fix them, that kind of thing, but we're no longer adding features to it, and the product in general we're not selling. But for the people that have it, and I encourage everyone to move because it's make a plan for it, but it's not like the support's suddenly going to go away or like we won't take calls or anything like that on it. It's more just, we're not selling it as a front line anymore. As part of that process, we've made a migrator that will take your card control data, your cards, transactions, and push them over to PayFabric. It's pretty straightforward. We've done it a number of times now, quite a few. It runs pretty quickly, and it just takes all your stored card data and pushes it up into PayFabric. So you should have access to all your customer wallets and cards pretty much immediately. All the data, it goes really quick. So I think on average, we takes about 2 hours to get it all done. Do it in.
What about the majority of our business is special orders, so we tend to authorize and then charge upon shipping. So sometimes if we things on back order, we might have long authorization periods. What does that transition look like? We just have to handle that on the Skype.
Pretty much, you would continue to any open transactions for documents. You would just finish with card control most likely.
You can have both operate.
What's that?
You can run both.
Yeah, there's no reason you can't. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be very helpful.
Yeah, there's. Card control is still. It's hooked up directly to the gateway or processor that you're using. So, and basically, as far as the gateways are concerned, like the auth code is the auth code, so you can finish it from wherever. There's no problem running both side by side for a while, other than anything you would then put in card control. Obviously, we can't run the from scratch migrator if you're running dual path. So you'd have to do one cutover, and then if you processed anything additionally, the data is housed in SalesPad, so you would still see it. But it's not anything I would encourage to say long term run it that way. But certainly for finishing transactions that are kind of long running like that shouldn't be a problem.
What about the pricing of PayFabric? If you're using card control right now, then do you have to pay for PayFabric, and do you pay for the migration?
We're just helping people out with the migration. Like I said, it's pretty much a point and click, and we get through it pretty quick. For PayFabric, for the value out of the service of basically you're not storing the cards anymore. So it takes all of the liability off of you for card storage. So it can, depending on where you're at, it can lower your level of, are you a 1 through 4 credit card processing vendor? Because you're not, it takes a lot of things out of your general PCI assessment because you're not storing cards. So there is a monthly fee for PayFabric. I don't have the levels offhand. Do you have them here?
I can pull them up really quick.
But as far as software goes, there's no software cost for it. So you'll see the screens are built right into SalesPad for charging through PayFabric, so there's no additional software component.
So the monthly fee you're talking about, is that a processing fee?
It's basically like a...
It's transaction based and stored card based. So this is from the PayFabric website. It's probably hard to see from up top, but you can see, so tier 1, it starts at 1,000 transactions and 1,000 stored cards. So when it says transaction, that means any authorization, capture, void. I think there's a couple other transactions that could be. So that is included in all of those in that 1,000 transaction. Then it goes up kind of from here, and at over 100,000 plus transaction, it's kind of you have to work with notice, but it starts at the 1,000 transactions and stored cards. So you can, and I'll show you in a minute with the stored cards, but these would be cards on the customer wallet that you can access.
On the bottom there, it said $199 setup fee.
Yeah, so SalesPad will set up, basically the way that the setup goes with PayFabric is that SalesPad will set up the integration for you.
Okay.
So what we set up is actually a sandbox account, which allows you to do all the testing needed.
Right.
Once you're ready and feel comfortable to go live, then you'll notify PayFabric, and at that point, that's when you'll start paying the monthly transaction fees.
So there's no setup fee.
No, there is a setup fee through SalesPad. but I believe it's time and materials based. So it usually takes about 2 hours, I think. It's not a very,
Isn't it 250?
Does that include the migration?
it was.
So you said we're migrating currently, get over.
It's a little different. No, the migrators is kind of separate. The setup is more like we actually have to go into the portal and set up your account and your sandbox and set some settings in SalesPad. It's the migrator runs independently after that.
And is that charged too, or is that free?
I don't believe we're charging. We have charged for the
There's,
migration.
well, the migration, it's pretty easy, so we've set it up so where customers are able to do it themselves. I don't think there's a final decision
I
on when
don't,
it's.
right now it's being done in support, so I don't believe
Yeah.
that we're charging for the migrations. And like
Yeah.
it's the smallest part of the process. It's really just kind of a when you're ready, point and click.
My processor, BluePay, is this compatible with that processor?
Yes, so, actually, I could just go here. Yeah. I think it has all of their
I
processors on their website.
I don't believe that BluePay is a supported gateway.
I'm not sure. We can find out though. Notice is here, so.
So if we're already card lock users and we want to switch to PayFabric, there's going to be fees for us to all pay. Personally.
What's that?
So you're not supporting card lock, there's going to be, it's pretty much going obsolete. So for us that use card lock, we're pretty much being nudged into PayFabric at a cost.
There's no cost for the software, and the maintenance goes away for card control. I'm not sure what we've done so far on charging for the conversions, but I think what do we say it was like 2 hours to get it set up?
Yeah, it's about 2 hours, but they've built it so we've had several clients do it on their own. So it's fairly easy, from my understanding, but.
And in addition to your processing fees right now, then you will have these PayFabric by transaction, by stored, depending on the stored card numbers, you'll have that additional fee.
Yeah, there's a fee for the PayFabric service for the card storage side.
Okay. In addition to your processing fees, that you're saying probably will go down because of your.
Yeah, that's right. So the credit card processing fees are basically pass-through fees, right? They don't really have anything to do with us directly. That's just whatever the card vendors are taking. And usually we can get those rates down by, through the level 3 and the other stuff. But that's really incidental as ROI to you guys. That doesn't really do anything for us. But there are fees in general for the PayFabric service, which is the stored, hosted payments. Yes.
So there's the setup fee. There is the monthly payments to PayFabric, and then the fee with the merchant services, that's just for charging credit cards, period. So that's not something related to SalesPad. It's just something that is involved with charging credit cards, so.
When you pulled up the rate fee, was that 1 to 1,000 per month? And we would pay that fee?
Yep,
Yes.
the 59, yep. And that's through PayFabric, so PayFabric would be charging that.
And are you requiring First Data to use First Data?
No, the only thing that's required for First Data is the EMV terminals. So EMV has really stringent requirements on what you can, so the entire stack has to get validated of device, merchant bank, acquirer, and then they certify the whole solution as EMV. It takes a ton of time and gets really complicated. So we don't have any flexibility in backends for EMV. It's basically, this is our stack for EMV. But if you don't want to use if you don't want to use the merchant services that come with the EMV, you can do both separately.
And if you don't use the EMV, but you want one of those encryptor devices, that we can use our current provider?
Yes. I believe that's the case. So these basically talk directly to PayFabric. So whatever processor you have set up on the back end for that PayFabric device is what it'll end up using. So For EMV specifically, I know we need to support only a specific merchant just because of the rules that are pushed on us. If you're doing just card swipes, we can support, I think, pretty much all of them.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here. Oh, and we've made it to the demo. So we'll switch over to SalesPad. I'm just going to start with a customer card. We're just going to do a simple order, and we'll just kind of walk through that. So. Okay, so I'm just going to save my sales doc here. And from here, I'm just going to click on the payments. So this is going to pop up our options for what kind of payment that we want to take. I want to take a new charge. And when I select new charge, you can see that it's loading PayFabric. So what it's doing is loading the PayFabric cloud. So this is an iframe. This is not actually a screen that's built into SalesPad. This is a PayFabric screen. So I want to walk through this process transaction screen. In the top left, we have our payment summary. So we have our gateway account and the currency and just that high level information. Our billing information for this particular account. The shipping information is on there as well. But then in the top right here, we have our payment information. So you can see I have this wallet, and I can click on the wallet, and I actually have a couple different options for credit cards stored in files. So that's kind of, these are one of the cards stored on file like we talked about with the pricing. So for this particular customer, I have 2 cards on file. So I'll select that one. And we do have a customer wallet, which I'll show you once we're done with the transaction. So I'm going to select process the transaction. And if it's been approved or denied, it will tell you.
Question for you, does it
Sure.
store the CVV?
You're not allowed to store the CVV.
That's what I thought.
So you have
have,
to have it.
What's that?
When you do a return, their credit card return, you have to have that return. Currently.
Yeah. If you do a return from an existing transaction, I don't believe you have to.
I don't do right now.
What's that?
I do right now. I
Oh.
don't think it's worth it, but we always have to have a customer get free.
In card control? Yeah, I don't think we do here. I think if you're doing an unsecured return, maybe. But if you're doing a return off of an existing transaction, we actually don't take the card again. We just take the transaction code and we let the merchant figure out what the bank and all the stuff that needs to happen. So I'm pretty sure if we do a return here on this in a second, we can try it. I'm pretty sure we do not need the CVV for a secured return.
So from here, it will stamp the date and time, the transaction, and what transaction type it was.
And so for any old school SalesPad users, you'll see that these screens look a lot like they used to when credit card processing was built in SalesPad before all of the PCI rules came out. So this is probably 7 years ago. So again, one of the nice features is because we don't have to worry about having a separate application, and the point of entry there is actually through that web page and not through the software. We get to build it in a little more tightly than we did with card control, out of necessity. So it's actually, the payments through PayFabric are a lot more integrated into SalesPad. There's no application switching or anything like that. So it's a little bit more convenient.
So like right now, we have to have card control running in the background. In this case, you just have to have,
It's just in SalesPad.
okay.
Yeah, so it's nice from that aspect where you don't have to worry about having a second application running or, and I know we've had some fun with terminal server environments and other places. This builds it all right back into the software.
So all the accounts in SalesPad are then sent to PayFabric?
All
All
the-
you're logging in?
No, it's
40 or 50 card control users, all of their accounts are in card control, so that's going to go over to PayFabric in the migration? Or do we have to set up one account?
it's basically, it uses a one account. There's a whole device setup where you say, okay, SalesPad is a credit card taking device in the PayFabric setup. So that's part of the setup and the initial side. So it's not per user or anything like that.
But you can protect it so only certain users can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. As security in SalesPad, yes.
So when you log into SalesPad, you are logged into card control?
Yes,
Or,
right, into PayFabric, yeah.
Okay. Is the user interface, we use GP Additions as well, is the user interface the same? And this looks very familiar to me, but I see the same thing for Additions.
No. So it is sort of similar looking. So we don't have the credit card processing that's handled through GP is handled through Notice CCA. So that's what she alluded to in the beginning. So it's actually the Notice CCA application that does the charging in GP if you're doing charging in GP.
So GP Additions goes away.
As far as the card processing side of it, yes.
So there is no GP Additions, but we have to get the, okay, all right, that makes a huge difference for me, okay. So I basically need it's two different interfaces, completely.
But to the exact same back-end processor,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So it's basically, I don't know if anyone's seen CCA, it's we did Additions, it looks a certain way. CCA is actually Dex forms. So it's in the menu, in the GP menus and that kind of thing. So it's actually much more built in traditionally, the way you would traditionally think of an add-on in GP.
Got it. Okay.
That's the way that CCA functions.
We have some scenarios where we currently have to save the credit card before we have an order or anything like that because we put it on loan and we're not charging or authorizing at that point.
Mhm.
We have an agreement. But we do store the credit card in case of damages. Currently in card control, we have to kind of like push the customer from SalesPad into card control and then store it in card control directly. Will we have, how will that work in here? If they have zero purchase history or anything, do they just need a customer card?
They just need a customer card, and then she'll show you the wallet in a second.
Yeah, we'll look at the wallet, and you can store those cards without necessarily charging anything to them. Okay, so now we've made our transaction, and we're kind of done. So a good segue to that customer wallet. Let's go back to
How does $0 off work?
How does it work?
In here, in PayFabric, will it work the same as it works in card?
I do not have the answer for that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Honestly, I don't remember how it's handled in card control, so we can connect afterwards. I can get one of the implementation guys to help you on that. I don't know specifically.
Okay, so the PayFabric wallet and transactions. So here we can see all of the PayFabric transactions for this customer. You can choose from a particular date, and it will show you all of the transactions, whether it's been denied or approved. So it'll show all of those transactions and the amount. And it also has that link to the document, so you can reference from there.
So all of our card control transactions with the migration would go in here? Is that how that migration works?
I'll follow up on that one. I don't remember. I know we take over card data. I'm pretty sure we take over historical transactions as well. I don't want to say definitively because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure that's the way that it works.
And since you're charging on card information, what do you do with old cards that have are past their expiration date? There is, yeah. I believe there are tools in PayFabric to clean them up.
Yeah, PayFabric has a purging tool for expired cards. So you can run that however often that you want to, so you're getting rid of those cards that are expired. Oops. And then we have our PayFabric wallet on the customer card. So this is going to show you, we have the cards that we have on file for this customer. You can set the default card if there's one in particular that you want to use regularly, and then the payment information. So you can also manage some of this information in PayFabric in the website itself. You can also see some light analytics about your transactions through the PayFabric site.
Is this is the entirety of like the customer card that's in card control right now? Because I see one field that we use a lot that's not there.
What?
Is there any other information behind this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you scroll that over and expand
I kind of zoomed it up so it's easier to see. So my...
In card control, you have a field just called description. It's a free-form field. And we use that to we have customers who have, 10 store locations, they may have a different card number for each store location. And we use the description field to denote which card gets charged for which location. So the description field becomes really important to us, and I don't see that description field here.
Got it.
Well,
It's usually in the column chooser right now.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
if it's
I just
available.
looked, it's not.
Yeah, that's why I want to know if it's available.
yeah, I don't, can we
Got
just
it.
create a user-defined fields and say this?
Well, we could, but I mean, if it's just something we've overlooked in the transition, well, we can just add the field too, so.
It's a really important field for us.
Sure, yeah, we'll take it.
It doesn't look, there's actually even a field in the payment information they added a description. So it would be there.
Got it.
Is everything showing up encrypted to where it's only the last 4 digits? Is that what I'm saying?
Yes, X's and then last 4.
Is there an option to see decrypted? Because of the PCI compliance.
Yeah, there's not an option.
Because we've
I don't
got a
believe
problem.
so.
We have kind of like what you guys have got. I have a supermarket that they have 25 different Amexes. The 5th digit is the differentiation number. They're all 1001s.
Got it.
Except for 5th digit.
American Express usually comes over encrypted with 5 digits.
Are they coming over with
This-
5?
They do in card scroll on every other program that I've ever used.
It probably does.
Mine is somewhere.
To his
So
point,
you really need that description.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. No.
to his point, is there a possibility, we've got a client who has like a half dozen stores in different states, and each store uses a different credit card. Is there a way we can assign a credit card to a store inside the system and differentiate them that way?
Like to a ship to?
No, just a store location.
So what's the representative of the location? Is that a customer? Is that a warehouse? What's
It's
the?
just a warehouse.
A warehouse.
basically. Yeah, it's actually a point of sale store.
So how would that data? Where would that data come from
I
then?
don't know, that's the question. I mean, the guy that was here with me today was wanting me to ask that question, so. Each store uses a different credit card master, I guess. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, let's take that one offline.
Yeah, okay, it works.
When you're selecting the card when you're in the actual area where you're charging it, all it looked like it had there was the last wordage, the card, there's nothing else there. I mean, even if you got just the address or something in addition to just the number when you're going to charge, because like she's saying, if there's multiple cards, it's really hard to differentiate which one you need.
We did have I'll just open up a document.
Yeah.
So with the payment information, the different card can have different billing information to it.
But yeah, selecting it from the list.
So-
Yeah.
Drop down, it's
Yeah.
hard to select each one of those cards.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem with that too, to kind of bounce off of that, not only is it a visual thing, but the majority of your company purchasing cards, the billing address is generally the same, because they're going through a corporate purchasing. So the only difference is it's the same thing, just with the different, potentially different users, card carriers.
Yeah.
The
Let me,
process, you just won't get the yes,
Yeah.
and you just do it.
sure. Let me take. I'll ask. So this screen here is completely controlled by Notice. That's all on their dev. So let me talk to them and see what our options are there. If we can pull in anything else, because that makes a lot of sense, along with the description stuff. I mean, I know the description field, at least on this screen, on the wallet. No, I don't want to charge things. Okay. I'm on an order, not a customer. So that one at least I have control over. So I can add a description here because this is all stored on our stuff. These windows here are actually stored on there, so I'll have to see what kind of flexibility I have for getting stuff done on that.
Even if you could get it in your wallet, or your, what are you guys calling that? You should call it that PayFabric wallet.
The wallet.
That's the tab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just having it so it was up and you could tile the screens so you can see kind of what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
third field under the billing information too.
What's that?
I was just use the third field under the billing information for your description.
Oh, unless you needed it. Or a third address.
Yeah, that would get a little bit frustrating too, though, because from the
Yeah.
grid, you couldn't pick it. You'd have to look at it and then look at the actual.
Right, you'd have to select it and then
pick the
see and then
individual.
select it.
So,
Yeah.
well, that one should be no problem as far as getting that in the grid for description, but I'm not sure exactly what options I have in that drop down, because that's data that they store. Like, they wouldn't have the description on the PayFabric side, because that's kind of like meta description we have on, or data we have on our side that we're not really passing to them. So I'll see what I can figure out for that, because that's some good feedback. That makes a lot of sense when you're picking the card.
I don't know if you're gonna demo this, but how did the payments split with documents? Are you gonna do the demo?
I was not planning on showing that.
No problem. So it's good plan on it?
Yeah, do you know?
No, we can talk about it offline.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Splitting payments is a real problem for us.
Okay. Add this to the list.
I know currently in card control, you can pass a return credit through without a CEC.
We do that as well. But we're returning it, are you returning an open transaction, or the only time we run a return through card control is we're matching it up with a previous transaction. So
And
we're
then it's a
matching.
credit, not an actual.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as you're doing it, let me back that up, as long as you're doing it as credit in card control, you aren't required to CEC.
That may be your skew.
So yeah, let's just go through the general demo, and we'll do whatever we have at the end, or we can do it afterwards. We can talk through those specifically.
So I was going to transition to start talking about the EMV transactions. It's going to have a very similar look to the what we just looked at with credit cards, but it wouldn't have the option for choosing the wallet. You'd basically just insert the card, chip and pin. These are not for swiping. I was going to hand them around so you guys can kind of just take a look at them.
If you're not for swiping, how you get in there?
It's chip and pin.
So the
So it's
chip
the
and
chip.
pin is exclusively a chip and pin device?
I believe so. I'll have to double check with Jeremy, but because I think that when it has to do with the merchant services, when it's the chip. Can those devices swipe, or is it just the chip?
No, they can do either.
Oh, they can do. Okay.
They can do either.
Sorry, they
It's
can
just
do either.
if you swipe a EMV card, even if the reader supports it, then you're taking liability onto yourself as opposed to onto the merchant bank. So, or you assume liability if you're swiping a chipped card, but you can still swipe it absolutely.
Will give you the error notification for.
It will if it has a chip, I think. Yes, but if there are still cards out there that aren't chipped, and you can still swipe those. I guess is the distinction. Yeah.
Also with SalesPad Mobile, it's going to be fairly similar. Again, we do require the PAX D210 for that because it's wireless. So as a reminder, just make sure to talk to your sales rep about the hardware for those devices for SalesPad Mobile. That was kind of everything that I was planning on covering today. Do you guys have any questions?
One item that, and it's just in SalesPad in general, workflow. We have workflow that takes all of our customers that have a credit card on file and pushes them into a batch as we're pushing invoices through for the day. As it stands right now, we have to charge those individually one at a time. Click on the document, click on payment, click on new, click on process.
Yep.
How do you, without doing pre-authorizations, we don't do pre-authorizations. We just have them all in a batch. How do you batch process?
So I can actually show you that.
Awesome. My team would really, I would be a hero if I could tell them how to do that.
All right. Yep. So I know you said you don't do the pre-auth, but we can do the pre-auth batch processing, or we can do the sales batch processing. So let me just select.
What about if they have multiple cards on access or as multiple cards on file? You already have a card select.
It would be for the default
Oh, the default.
Yeah, you can set a default. Just trying to see which is a good.
So if they weren't using the default, then that would be a problem to go through sales tax processing?
If there's not a default, I don't know which one it would, if it would choose one, or if it would just say you can't charge this particular card.
It would be like as if you were evaluating on a only document kind of folder in SalesPad. It would basically just sit there.
Oh, okay, do you do that?
No, no, because of the CDC code requirement.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a batch that I have available. There we go. And from here, you have the option to capture or charge. The capture is going to be the authorized, and then the charge is to actually charge the card. So it asks me, do I want to charge the 31 selected documents in this batch? I say yes. And then it evaluates each sales doc and is charging the card. So
That option is not available in today's card control environment.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
But this is something that comes out of the box with the PayFabric.
So this is part of the PayFabric integration?
Yes, exactly. And then it pops up, it says finished, and then you can close the window and see the event log. So, any other questions? No? All right, well, thanks everyone for your time.